Hello everyone. In today's video we will discuss about database recovery methods. In previous video we have discussed about database failures. So after the failure of a system we have to recover the data for further use, and the database recovery is a process of recovering and restoring data in the database when a data loss occurs or data gets deleted by system crash, hacking, or errors in the transaction, or damage occurred coincidentally by the viruses, sudden terrible failures, commands incorrect implementations, etc. Data loss or failure happen in database like other systems, but the data stored in the database should be available whenever it is required. For fast restoration or recovery of data, the database must hold tools which recover the data efficiently. It should have atomicity, means either the transaction showing the consequences of successful accomplishment perpetually in the database, or the transaction must have no sign of accomplishment consequences in the database. From any failure set of circumstances, they are both volunteer and involunteer ways for both backing up data and the recovery of data. So recovery techniques which are based on deferred update, and the immediate update or backing up data can be used to stop the loss in the database. So we have to understand firstly that what is the immediate update data and deferred update data. So immediate update and deferred update are two methods for maintaining transaction logs for the data. In immediate update mode, when a transaction executes, the updates made by the transaction are written directly onto the disk, and the old values and the updated values are written onto the log before writing to the database in the disk. On commit, the changes made to the disk are made permanent. On rollback, changes made by the transaction in the database are discarded when the old values are restored into the database from the old values stored in the log. So this is immediate update method. And in deferred update mode, when a transaction executes, the update made to the database by the transaction are recorded in the log file. On commit, the changes in the log are written onto the disk. On rollback, the changes in log are discarded and no changes are applied to the database. So these are immediate update and deferred update. Now we have crash recovery method. Crash recovery is operation through which the database is transferred back to the compatible and operational condition. In DBMS, this is performed by rolling back inefficient transaction and finishing prepared transaction that even now existed in memory when the crash took place. With many transactions being implemented with each second shows that DBMS may be tremendously complex system. The fundamental hardware of system manages the sustained robustness and the stiffness of software, which depends upon its complex design, and anticipated that the system would go behind with some methodology or techniques to restore lost data when it fails or crashes in between the transaction. To recover and also to sustain the transaction atomicity, there are two types of methodology: sustaining each transaction logs, and before actually improving the database, put them onto some storage which is substantial, and sustaining shadow paging, in which on a volatile memory the improvements are completed and afterward the real database is reformed. Second is log based recovery. The log is an order of subsequence of records which sustains the operation record accomplished by a transaction in the database before the specific changes and improvements survive on a storage media which is stable and falling securely. It is essential that the logs area unit put down in storage. Following there are working of log based recovery. The log file is not damaged on a stable storage media. Log based recovery puts log regarding a transaction when transaction begins to be involved in the system and start implementation. Next is recovery with concurrent transactions. The logs are interleaved when multiple transactions are being implemented in collateral. It would be difficult for the system of recovery to make an order of sequence of all logs again and then start recovering at the time of recovery. Most recent times database systems use the abstractions of checkpoints to make this condition uncompleted. So the checkpoint is an established process where all the logs which are previously used are clear out from the system, stored perpetually in a storage disk. Checkpoint mention a point before which the DBMS was in a compatible state and all the transactions were prepared. So these are the method of database recovery.